Whether you're outside grilling, changing diapers, or just trying to catch a breath, the Young Dad Podcast is your spot for real conversations about fatherhood, manhood, and everything in between. I'm your host, Jay, and I sit down with dads, experts, and everyday men to talk about the joys, the struggles, and the lessons that come with raising kids and building a meaningful life. From mental health and relationships to faith, family, and the funny stuff only dads understand, YDP is here to remind you that you're not doing this alone. So grab a juice box, grab a snack, kick back, and join the conversation because fatherhood doesn't come with a manual, but it should come with a podcast. Every man faces moments that test his faith, his grit, and his ability to lead when life knocks him flat. But that's what separates those who crumble from those who rise. Today's guest, Albert, knows that answer firsthand. A CPA, MBA, father of four, and author of Life, Truth, Love, Loss, Success, and Failure, Albert turned personal trials into a practical blueprint for generational success. He believes discipline, not disciples, beats motivation and numbers. When read with wisdom, tell the story of truth, resilience, and legacy. If you've ever wondered how to lead your family through chaos and still come out stronger, this one's for you. So whether you're outside grilling, mowing the lawn, changing dirty diapers, or maybe you finally got a moment to sit down, relax, and listen to your favorite podcast and listen to me butcher the intro, thanks for being here and thanks for tuning in. Today's guest is Albert, a CPA, MBA partner in charge at national accounting firm and author of Life, Truth, Love, Loss, Success, and Failure. He's a husband, father of four, and a youth coach who's learned how to turn adversity into purpose. Albert's story is one of perspective, discipline, and faith. He believes that accounting is the heartbeat of business and the key to personal finance success. But behind the numbers is a man who's built systems of resilience, not just for corporations, but for his home, his marriage, and his legacy. This conversation is about fatherhood, leadership, money, and the quiet strength of men who show up even when they don't feel like it. So make sure you grab a juice box, grab a snack, and let's jump into today's real and honest conversation and welcome Albert to the show. Albert, welcome.
Oh wow, Jay, that was an amazing, amazing intro, and I think I need to keep you with all of my intros because that one right there was a winner. That was a winner.
Thank you.
I think the disciples piece is even better. I think I might change it and then throw disciples in because that's what you're raising when you got these kids, man.
I mean, true. Very
So
true.
yeah, so at the end of the day, it's being a dad is the man one of the best jobs that I have, and it's the one that I chest with pride every single day. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course, man. I'm happy and excited to have you. Despite butchering the intro, it happens. That's the great thing about editing is that you heard it and probably the listener won't hear it or any of this conversation here. So, um, let's go back through your story a little bit. So you've accomplished a lot: CPA, MBA, author, partner, husband, father. But who was the man before all of that?
The man before all of that was a man looking for a lot of guidance through family. And I'll tell you that that search was with my father and how he basically put me on his shoulders and paved the way for me. And I just love and respect my dad so much. He's no longer with us, but the lessons that he was able to instill in me are the ones that are found in my book. But it's something that I live on a daily basis. He and my mother, they were just champions for me and have been champions for our entire family. And it's something that put me in a position to say, hey, you know what? I need to be that patriarch for my family as well too. So that was the man before, looking for the opportunity to continue to develop as a man.
And speaking about that, what are some of those values, those things that really made your parents like the rocks of the family and of your life?
I think their level of discipline, and I mention a lot in the book that motivation is wonderful. It is a great thing, and I think it's a lot of it. You're hearing a lot of it where they say people are saying that hey, motivation is not enough, and it's true. It's not enough. You have to be disciplined and be consistent and have a level of grit because life truly is turbulence. It's and the journey through life is one that is birthing you to be who you are today. If you put that and think about that and put in a little perspective, you wouldn't be who you are if you hadn't gone through the things you've gone through, the good and the bad. And truth be told, I wouldn't take away any of it. It's I have no regrets. And I think if you think through your own life, you probably wouldn't have too many regrets because you wouldn't be who you are today without having those opportunities and experiences.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's the important part of the experiences and the past that everyone's had is that we wouldn't be, like you just mentioned, we wouldn't be who we are today without all that. And even though, there's times where we wish we would have done something different or we wish something didn't happen a certain way or go down and we made, a different choice along the way, ultimately it's all led us to where we are at this very moment. all the things that I've done in my life has led me to talking to you today, and all the things that up to this point led you to here today. So it's really cool to think about when you put it all together. If you would have made a choice to, never get married or never have kids, you wouldn't be here. Neither would I, kind of thing.
Jay, that was a really good movie. I don't think it got too much praise. It was a Nicolas Cage movie. I think it was the name was Family Man, and in the movie, he was a dad, and he was having a hard day, just one random day, and he was like, "Man, I wish I wasn't a dad no more. I didn't have all these responsibilities." And he woke up as a
Mhm,
bachelor, and he just loved it. He loved it for about 30 days, and he wanted his family back. So I'll tell you, even in those instances where choices, if you wish you could make a different choice, man, every choice I think I've made has led me to a place of true joy. I'm not even gonna say
mhm.
happiness, joy, because it's different. Happiness and joy, happiness happens for a moment, but joy lasts for a lifetime, and that's the space I'm in.
Absolutely. And that's important. That's the important place to get and realize, like, this is what it all leads to, right?
That's right.
This is joy. I reached that point, and that's the point we're trying to work towards. And so with your book, it touches on truth, love, loss, and success and failure. Which of those 5 principles has tested your faith and your identity the most over time?
I will tell you loss. And that's just this sticks out like a sore thumb. Like I mentioned when I first began, both my parents are gone now. And the revelation of not having that, I will tell your entire audience, if you still have your parents, if you have a relationship with them, go hug them and tell them that you love them. Because when they're gone, they're gone. And I miss my parents every single day. So when I talk about loss, I go deep in the book about my mom and my dad. There's a whole dedication of the book is to my mother. When I tell you a strong, full, motivated, thing, nurturing, all those things, disciplinarian, all those things was bundled up in this little 5 foot 1 inch, 140 pound little lady who taught me so much of true unconditional love. And that's one thing I will tell you too, and tell everyone that unconditional love of your children just happens in an instance. Everything that you do in life is conditional, except for that one instance of that true unconditional love. And the first time that you truly experience it is when you have a child. And I can remember to this day when my son was born, when I first looked at him and I saw his little face that he just was crying, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a boy, and it was instant, and nothing can ever change that. And then when my girls came, oh my gosh, whole nother level of hey, I got to protect these little ladies,
Yep.
and that's the champion of an effort. So I would tell you that lost piece turns you into a man. It turns you into a man because you have to really look in the mirror and say, hey, you know what? I got to take everything they gave me and make it something today.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And it's one of those things when it comes to loss that it really does shift our perspective in ways too. It makes us think, and it makes us be really grateful for what's still here physically with us. Right? It makes us stop and realize some things at the same time. Like, man, I wish I would have. Brings out some of those shoulda, woulda, couldas.
Yes,
And those are rough. Those are really hard to work through, and can be really hard to cope with. I've had experiences in my life, with a grandfather of mine I was super close to. Man, I mean, I had the opportunity to go, I didn't go. I There's still some times where I wrestle with those shoulda, woulda, couldas when he passed away, and it's like, man, I wish I would've. And I just think about it, it's like I could have done so many things different and so many things better in that situation, and I just didn't. And so then when my wife had lost, and this kinda goes to the point of our experiences, shape us for the life we're living right now, right? The past experience. So when my
sure.
wife had actually recently lost her first grandparent, like, first time she'd experienced that, right? And, she was wrestling with some of those things of not going, maybe to the hospital, or not going, to this certain thing, or, not going to see her, or not going up to see, this part of the funeral and whatnot. You know, uh, I had really and I felt a little bad about it, but in the end, it was good. In the moment, there was some resistance, pushing her. It's like, we should go to the hospital where she's at. We should go and see her, kind of thing. Even though I didn't really talk to her grandmother at all, or have a relationship. Her grandmother only spoke Spanish. I only speak English, and it's like I really had to push her. And at the end of it, it was just one of those things that, she was, thankful that she did do those things, even though it was hard, it was scary, those experiences, and I even felt a little bit healed through that.
That's right.
kind of thing. Being able to you know what, I pushed myself and her to go there and get out of that comfort zone. And so we're talking about loss here, but it also wraps back to the experiences that we've had and where they help us go in the moment and set us up for present day what we're doing.
That's right. That's right. It's almost like I will tell you that having those experiences molds your character,
Yes.
and being able to push through that level of, and very valid point, fear. The fear of facing it, the fear of confronting it, the fear of being exposed to it, and the fear of a realization that this is actually real
Mhm.
really resonates to mold your character to say, hey, you know what? At least I know for me, definitely, it ignites a fire inside of you to go. I have shit to do. I need to make sure things are okay. I gotta push forward and champion for the family now because there's a part of the family that is getting ready to leave. And what documents what that person had? Well, it's memories. Those memories. And I'm gonna pivot right back. And I think this is kind of the revelation of it all. It forced me to put pen to paper and put this book together because everything in it is generational. You mentioned your wife's grandmother. Can you imagine how many generations had to come together to form her grandmother, and those same generations had to come together to form her mother, and those same generations came together to form her? She is who she is because of that lineage of DNA that came together to make her the wonderful person that she is.
Mhm.
And understanding how great that is and confronting it when she had to say goodbye to her grandmother, it really molds you into a different person.
Yeah. And I definitely think, there was a difference because between her and this is, kind of just talking off the wall here, but there was a difference in, some conversations that happened later between her and her siblings that didn't go. And I mean, they all made their own personal choice and whatnot, but at the end of it, she was really my wife was really happy that she did. There was a level of gratitude there because she got to do things that help her feel some of that closure, and brought her some comfort as she went through her grief. So, yeah. So there's a lot of defining moments
Yeah.
throughout our lives up to this point, and we it does test us, it does push us, and they do shape us a lot. That loss is such a huge piece, right? Like one big part of my story, kind of sticking on this before we move on. One big piece of my story is my grandfather who was raising me from like 2 weeks old up until he passed away when I was 8 years old is such a huge part of my story because he was like the father figure for me at that point in my life because I hadn't really known my dad and I was being raised by my maternal grandmother and my step grandfather, and he passed away when I was 8, and I remember being in the hospital, where I was in the hospital room, and all of a sudden, I'm being rushed out, my grandma's crying, all these doctors and stuff are coming in, I'm being moved out to the hallway. I remember looking over at my grandfather, and his lips were blue, my grandmother's crying and screaming for help, and I'm being rushed out to the hallway, like I mentioned, and then I'm at my best friend's house, and then next thing I know, like, how the memory goes in my head, I know there was more to it, but next thing I know, we're at the funeral and my grandfather had passed away, and yeah, it was just one of the it's just a weird time, but that was such a huge part of my story because like, I saw that and I experienced that at such a young age. Was I was only like 7 or 8 years old, and it was one of those crazy experiences, that just really shape you and really shape your mind at a young age.
And it's supplanted in a memory for you, and
Yeah.
that's so powerful because I can see it right now how it comes back. All that just came rushing back to you, and
Yeah,
when you think about those ones that have gone, you can feel their presence. You can literally feel their presence when those memories starts coming back up. So that's very, very
absolutely.
powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, there's a lot of really good memories that are there. There's a lot of fun in those few years, that early part of my life. Obviously, I don't remember like being a toddler, things like that, but I definitely remember quite a few things between like 4 and 8 years old with me and him that were just really, great moments. Probably some that weren't the best, a 7-year-old, 8-year-old watching Jerry Springer,
That's
things like
awesome.
that. But it was a different time. It was a different time.
That's right.
I would much rather no, I probably wouldn't let my kids watch Jerry Springer, but I also don't know if I would rather them watch Jerry Springer or watch just YouTube endlessly kinda
Right.
thing, you
That's
know?
right. Honestly, you got to sit back and think about it. Was it really that bad?
Yeah. Is it really that bad compared to everything they could watch on YouTube?
Yes. I
At
don't
least I
even
know it's gonna
argue and
be
say,
censored.
right, you know it's gonna be censored, and at least you kind of get know the context. But now everything is kind of wide open. So
Yeah.
That's interesting you bring that up, but very, very valid point.
Yeah, that's the crazy part of being a parent now is that there's so many things that we went through and learned when we were growing up, and we watched, I watched Springer and Maury and Judge Judy and all those great shows that were pretty probably not the best for kids.
Right.
But now we think of what we do for our kids and what they have available to them, and it's like maybe that stuff was better
Right. At
because we
least
just have
watching Judge Judy, you might have learned a little something.
for real learn how to argue,
Right.
learn how to defend yourself, learn how to make a
Right.
point, get your point across.
That's it.
There's some great things there, but no, it's a wild world out there, right? There's a lot of things that our kids can learn. There's a lot of things that they have access to. There's a lot of hidden corners, even of what's the safe spaces for kids, quote unquote safe spaces for kids in games and things like that. There's some weird stuff out there, and it's scary. And I wanted to hit on fear because we kind of touched on that briefly,
Hmm.
but there's so much fear out there, and it's hard to sort through it to make sure we're doing the right thing and we're not living in it, but we're also living faithful and we're also living a trusting life. And yeah, it's all just the circle of modern day life, honestly.
Jay, I will tell you, you mentioned the circle of modern day life, but there's another circle as well. It's the family circle. And to your point, we can't do it alone. And another part of what used to take place in the past was there was more of an open air of, hey, families work with families, churches work with churches. People were more open with taking advice on the rearing of a child. That now you kind of feel like you're on an island a bit
Mhm.
and you're trying to figure it out. And that's the hard part is that you are destined to make mistakes without having that nucleus of a extended family around you that you can fall back on. So one thing that we do in my family is that we have monthly family meetings, and in these monthly family meetings, we have a general topic, and that general topic turns into everyone in the family being able to have a safe space to talk about any and all things that are resonating with them at that particular time, be it a truth, be it a love, be it a success, be it a failure, and putting it out there to get a different voice as compared to the same voice inside. And that those voices are coming from a voice of love. The voices we're talking about with the free openness of the internet are voices of noise. And I try to advocate very, very highly that there's so much more noise today than what it was when I was coming up, and definitely before my parents came up. With all the
100%.
noise, it makes it so hard to delineate what's right and what's wrong and what's truth and what's actual lies.
Yeah.
So imagine a young mind being exposed to
Oh my
so
gosh.
much noise that you can't weave through what's right and wrong, that you need to be able to connect right back to dad, and right back to mom, right back to grandma, right back to granddad, aunts, uncles, people who you know actually love you. And
Absolutely.
that's the hard part that we're dealing with. And I'm glad you brought that up because today's time is just so much faster and so much more noise that our children, they have to be in a safe space to talk to those that truly love them.
Absolutely, and I love that you do a family meeting every month. I think that's something that more families should incorporate. Have that monthly meeting, and just have that time dedicated to sit down and talk about things that are going on, and really give that opportunity and that space. I love that, but the noise piece here, oh my gosh, dude, it's so hard because I talk to a lot of people every day. I work in mental health, and I talk to a lot of people every day, and so much of it is like I don't know like what it is, but it feels like how do I even phrase this? Like there's so much noise, but I feel like all of our lives are disillusioned because not all of our lives, but so many of the people I talk to's lives, that's better, are disillusioned because of like all the noise that they face, right? They don't know how to sort through it all. Or if they have sorted through it all, um they maybe have false information. They may not have truth, quote unquote truth. They believe it's truth, right? It's truth to them and their perspective and their reality, but maybe in, whatever context it is, it may not be truth. But that's a totally different thing. But there is a lot of noise and it's very easily to get caught up and distracted in all the noise. And you have to have those things that reset you. You have to have those things that ground you, which is why I love what you do with that family meeting, because you need to hear it from those that love you most and that those are there to protect you the most.
Right.
And that's so important. Yeah, but the noise is crazy, and it really can shift your reality if you're listening to too much noise and you're giving the noise too much power over
That's
yours.
right.
your
Sure.
daily.
Can you imagine, Jay, as an adult grown man, that I have a hard time dealing with all the noise?
Dude, I
So
did
can you
too. I
imagine,
did
right?
too.
The kids, can you imagine the
Yes,
comments?
yes, yes,
It's
dude.
deep, and it requires you to have your own values, your own foundation, your own way of getting back to the
And they
facts.
don't even have that yet. They don't
They
even have
don't
that
have
yet.
it. They
Like,
don't
we
have
barely
it.
have it as adults.
Right, right.
Shoot.
You know.
Like, dude,
So,
it's
and I read that you work in mental health. So can you imagine how rampant this can become with so many people not having a foundation to fall back on? How their mind can just go different places, and
oh
it can
yeah,
take them.
it's very easily moldable. It's very easily
Right,
captured. I'm not sure if you're a man of faith, but I am. But it's very easily
definitely.
it's very easily captured by the wrong things in the world. It's very easily captured by the woke things that are going on around us. It's everywhere. It's every community, and that's the devil trying to capture things, trying to change your identity, trying to make you change who you are, trying to make you change what you believe, trying to make you go a certain way, and it's all captured. And if we're adults, and it's frustrating to us because we're trying to sort through all the noise, and it's just overwhelming. That's a big reason to have this podcast where you can just listen to myself and another person just talking. Same thing. You get to eliminate the noise a little bit. That's why I love listening to podcasts because it eliminates the noise, and that's why it's so important to get away and do things away from the noise and to disconnect every now and then from all the noise. But no, it's as an adult, it's difficult, and I don't even remember the point I was on. I got distracted and made a different point, but it's
It's solid. It's solid, Jake. And I
but
and I'm a
trying to help
go
our
ahead.
kids is through this is crazy because it seems like there's more and more and more and more noise every single day. Every single day there's more. There's something new. There's a new angle that they're trying to take to not they, but like the adversaries trying to take to capture our kids, to capture us, right? Never ending relentless attacks to try to capture every single person that the adversary can to take us down and to change us and to take us away from the truth, from God, from faith itself.
So interesting, Jay. If you put that together, if you put noise, if you put in taking you away, if you put in not having facts, if you put all, you can't even have a conversation with someone if you can't even agree on facts. So
No.
now we can't even talk because we don't agree on facts. So
Yeah.
that's even more confusion. So confusion begets bad behavior begets sin begets all of these things, and author of confusion at the end of the day is the devil. And when that is laid in that way, it makes you sit back and wonder what's really going on here. Like it makes you want to go, you need to go back to your faith to make sure that you can line yourself up with God and have that walk in a way that you can go to God, because God is going to talk. If you quiet enough, he's going to talk to you, he's going to tell you, and it's going to become very, very clear that the path that you should be on. And I mentioned this in the book multiple times, but the number one book that I keep by my side at all times is this one here, that
Oh,
that takes you down that right road.
yeah, I got
All
mine right here.
there you go. This right here, when you read it, when you're reading Ephesians, and because we brought up, we have to go here. If you
Yeah, go
read
ahead.
Ephesians 6, and it takes you down the road that Paul talked to the churches, and helps you understand putting on the full armor of God, because we are under attack, and nobody wants to understand that. And you under attack by things that you can't see, by things that are trying to take you off the table. And if I take you off the table, I got you and I win. So having the full armor of God, knowing how to pray, knowing how to lock in, and knowing how to read this sword, the sword of the spirit, knowing how to read it prepares you to be able to walk. A part of that conversation about noise, even Jesus had to deal with noise. The devil came back to try to tempt him. That's noise. And Jesus, the way that Jesus fought off the devil in coming out of the wilderness was with the sword of the spirit. He gave him scripture over and over again. He gave him scripture. And that's what we have to come back to. That's what we have to understand. I don't know if this is where this is going, but I really appreciate you bringing it up, because this is the things we talk about with my kids all the time, and making sure that they're in a world that's worldly. And being in that worldly world, you have to be equipped to deal with the sight of things that can't be seen.
Yeah. No, and that's why it's important to give our children, the faith and pass it down to them. There's a reason that it was documented all throughout different parts of, especially in the Old Testament. There's a lot of different lineage lines that are all there. You know, so and so begat so and so, so and so begat so and so, so and so begat so and so and so and so and so and so, yada 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 yada. All these lineage lines, right? And it just shows like how important that faith was to be passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation. And then for some reason it stopped being passed down. Stopped being passed down, and it just stopped. And then, you know, we are all lucky enough to be blessed here and be placed in America during current times, you know, in the last 250 years of America being America. And somewhere along the way in America, we lost that. We lost the faith. We lost, you know, we were so focused on freedom and freedom and freedom and freedom that freedom took over. And we became too free. We became too driven by free choice and free will, which I mean is a blessing that we're given that, right? Every human being, everyone created by God is given free will and free choice, but it's what you do with it that's important. At the end
That's
of the
right.
day, you there is a way back. There is a way back. There's a TikTok creator, and I am so inspired every single time I watch him. His name is Niza, and I think I've mentioned him on the podcast a couple times. But he was living a life previously to finding Jesus as Nicole.
Wow.
And so he was full transitioning to being Nicole. And then he found Jesus, and now every single day he documents his journey as a Christian. Every single Sunday he's gone to different churches. He's gone to Catholic churches, Methodist churches, Christian churches. He's gone to all sorts of different churches trying to find the right one and see make it make sense like for him and his understanding and videos of him reading the Bible and everything. And then he meets this young lady, not a coincidence. And they document their time together. Boyfriend, girlfriend, document it all. And he's putting out these videos, and it just shows like how hard he's trying to live a faithful life. And he's always using his past experience to talk about his current experience. He's like, you know, I actually before I, you know, was here with you today, you know, playing this golf tournament, I was living as Nicole. That's why my golf bag says Nicole. And
Wow.
that's why the registration said Nicole, because I was living as that as I registered, but now I found Jesus, and now boom, like his ministry, his word is so much more powerful. You know, he's growing a beard and everything back, and you know, he was just posting last few days like, oh yeah, now I want to propose to Charlotte. You know, I want to live in a good, godly, you know, marriage and do things the right way and all that. And it's so cool to see like how God can transform someone who was so caught up in the lies and the false love and you know
Confusion.
the confusion
Confusion.
and the
Yeah.
loss of identity in the world, how it can take someone, and now God is using him on this platform with millions and millions of people, millions of young adults who are seeing that and be like, "Whoa, what is this all about?" kind of thing, and it makes you question. And that's kind of where I was wanting to get to. Like we also have to teach our kids. Yes, we have to load them and arm them with scripture, and the sword and the faith and everything. But we also have to teach them to question things. We also have to teach them to not just go with the flow, and to not just be fully accepting of. They can be accepting, right? They can be accepting of others, but they shouldn't just lay down and be like, you know what? Okay, cool. I'm gonna accept my fourth grade friend who says they're trans. We should teach them to be accepting, and maybe not accepting. Tolerance, a better word. We should have them to be tolerant because tolerance is good. But we don't have to teach our kids to accept that. We don't have to teach our kids to be a part of that and to just lay down and accept this reality. We should teach them to to tolerate it and then question it. Be like, what, why are you doing that? Last year in third grade you were a girl. Now why are you trying to be a boy? Kind of thing. Like, just wear baggy clothes. The thing.
Right.
Kids are logical. They'll figure that out. They'll be like, just dress like a boy. You'll be fine, but still be a girl. That's fine. We don't care if you dress like a boy. Kind of thing.
Right.
And just to question things. And I think being able to question things, tolerate and question, I think is so important as we go through our daily lives. We can tolerate people, but we also need to be questioning things at the same time.
That's exactly right. And having that freedom to question
Hmm.
is critical. Is very, very critical.
Yes.
This is going to kind of dovetail into a conversation I had with my little girls. Um, being able to not just question but also stand on your faith and
Yes.
stand on your values, because your faith and your values will be questioned as well too, and being properly equipped to have those answers that you're comfortable with giving. So you're not going to be cultivated into a way that makes you question your own faith, or question your own walks, or question the way that your rearing has molded you. So that's a big one that moms and dads have to deal with as well too. Because, like we mentioned before, our children are in a world that is a lot more fast paced, a lot more noise, and a lot more things that they're being exposed to at an earlier age than what we would ever have been exposed to,
Mm-hmm.
which makes you step back and say, wow, if my child has to deal with the type of stuff that I dealt with when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, and they're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with it when they're in middle school, it's riveting. It's very, very riveting. It makes you want to really step back and have conversations that you might not have been prepared to have, that you probably should have a little bit sooner than later.
Yeah. Well, I think that goes to the point of being able to have ongoing conversations and not wait until the conversation's already there. And it sucks as parents because, we grew up in a time to where those conversations, we never had a conversation with our parents about, gay kids or trans kids or furries or people identifying as trees or whatever, right?
Right.
And of course, guys, some of this is jokes, okay? Don't take it too serious. Don't bash me in the comments. You can if you want. I don't care. All the comments help engagement anyway, so feel free.
Feedback is good, Jay. Feedback is very
Feedback is
good.
great. Go ahead. If there's no one actually identifying as a tree, it's supposed to be a bush or whatever. Correct me, please. Please correct me if I'm wrong there. What you guys photosynthesize as these days. But other than that, we never had to have conversations with our parents. We never had these conversations. We've had to grow up and for some reason forced to accept and to play into the reality of these things and forced to start try to accept them as normal when they're not normal. As a mental health professional, I encourage you to talk to a mental health professional, one that isn't, and this is going to be challenging for some. It's going to be very challenging for some, but maybe don't talk to one that's of the LGBTQ plus community. Maybe talk to one that maybe is just, totally neutral. They're tolerant of all the different things. They're tolerant of faith. They're tolerant of religion. They're tolerant of gender and identity. They're tolerant of all those things. Maybe talk to that person that's kind of more in the middle and see what happens next. Just see if they offer you anything different or challenge you or push you a little bit. And that's all I'm asking. Just explore a little bit. You've already done plenty of that, so go ahead and keep doing it just with your mental health. I think it's great. But
You brought up what's the guy's name again with the TikTok
his
page?
name is Nisa Powers.
So with his journey, like you mentioned before, he was going different places and
Hmm.
questioning and trying to find his path and basically get exposed to different types of mental health for himself,
Hmm.
because even going down that journey is a mental position that you're putting in, because you are questioning everything at that. So I concur. Have conversations with different types of people, and then be strong enough, or work to be strong enough, to try to come to your own resolution. But the biggest conversation I highly recommend people to have is with your Lord and Christ Jesus. That right there
Absolutely.
will give you and put you in position to have discernment on the things that you're seeing, the things that you're hearing, and the things that you're being exposed to. To me, is the number one conversation I highly encourage everyone to try to.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely agree. And if you want to have it, there's also this page on Instagram. It's Revive Traveling Ministry. This is a husband and wife who at the time they were married were both trans. They both detransitioned, they both found God, and now they have a beautiful family together. And so it's really cool. She was trying to become a he was trying to become a she, and it was a whole thing when they got married, and they both since have found God, they both found Jesus, and they both have detransitioned. So these stories are out there. These stories are absolutely out there, and I think they're an example of, his way is better. Absolutely, his way is better. His way is truth. His way is light. His way is love. His way is success. His way is absolute truth. At the end of the day, and that's absolutely where we got to get to, because Jesus always had this mindset of, I will, I'm going to, you're going to, I'm going to teach you, I'm going to lead you, I can, I will, and it was never a question. He's like, I can do that. Yep, God, you want me to do that? Got you. I don't think he said got you. Maybe he did. We don't know. He's like, you want me to do that? I will do that. And he never questioned things. He carried his faith and he trusted his Father in heaven. And what better example than that? If Jesus trusted his Father in heaven so much that he took up the cross and then died, bled from every pore, had thorns and was stabbed, was beaten, berated, things like that. If Paul, an average guy, either one of us could have been Paul, Albert. Either one of us could have been Paul and been thrown in jail multiple times, almost at death multiple times, traveled a big circle around that region of the east and that Ephesians, Galatians, and through all those different cities documented in the New Testament, right? And he still had the faith to keep going. He knew that there was purpose and faith here. He had unrelenting faith. He said, "I can get thrown in jail because I know even if I'm in jail here, I can still preach. I can
That's
still
right.
write letters. I can still do these things, and I will do them. I will keep doing them no matter what. I will do these things until the day that I die, until the day I can't do them no more."
That's right.
And that example carries on. And example carries on all throughout the Bible. There's examples of that. And Paul probably felt like he failed all the time when he was getting thrown in jail.
Right.
Always probably felt like he was like letting God down, letting Jesus down. I was like, oh man, maybe those things aren't documented fully, but I'm sure there's times where he just felt, man, I'm failing. I am the worst. I am awful. But he stayed disciplined. He stayed disciplined. He stayed as a disciple, a disciplined disciple, and he kept going through all the things that were pushing against him and telling him to quit. That's
Could
what we
you
have to
could
do.
could you imagine not just the oh man I can't believe this, but the mindset of Paul to realign with purpose and to even write the letters to the churches and even in those letters saying, hey, don't cry for me. Matter of fact, you guys need to don't try to send me stuff. Follow what I'm telling you so you can make sure that you are continuing to be aligned with God.
Hmm.
Continue to be aligned with God. Even though I'm in jail, even though I'm in prison. And yes, it's rough, it's tough, but don't worry about that. Stay focused because I know that there's a higher power that has me covered, and you guys need to make sure you are aligning with that higher power so you can remain covered. It's very 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 powerful when you sit back and think about it. Think about the context. When my family, when we do read the Bible together, we'll have our Bible study, and each one of us have different translations of the Bible, and we read the scripture based off the illustration to make sure the true context is put around the word that's being provided. And then further to that, we look at the time period and the author to understand the mindset as well too, to really make a real connection. And then I go around the table when we ask questions about it and ask my children, how do you think they felt? How do you feel about that? How do you think they were able to progress and even come to these types of conclusions? And is riveting of what a young mind will say when they're questioned in that type of pattern, and the connections that they make sometimes might educate you. I really appreciate that from my kids. At the same time, I appreciate having that level of scripture to even share with them. It helps us as a collective group with all of the quote unquote noise that's going on around today.
Absolutely. I don't know how we got to this point. It's been 40 minutes,
We
but
hey, you know what? We've dove into this and got deep into it, Jay. I was
no,
like,
I
that's
love it.
I appreciate it. I
That's what
really,
I'm all
really do.
about. That's what I'm all about. All right. Well, I want to turn the page here a little bit, um, and just talk about a couple things real quick before we get to the end of this show here. Let's talk about your framework,
Okay.
AR, Plan, Act, Review. How do you apply this framework every day?
So I will tell you, plan, act, review, and I'm gonna dive into a little detail. I'm gonna give you another framework that goes right along with it: training, practice, work.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question. So let's go both of them at the same time. PAR
Same
and
time.
TPW.
They go hand in hand. In everything that we do, it's always great to quickly plan. Not plan in a way that you're going to have analysis paralysis, but quickly plan before you walk into it. And so you can immediately take action and then go into the review phase. And that's why I said earlier, feedback is good because when you get that feedback, it gives you a different perspective that's outside of your own eyeballs of what's going on. So plan, act, review is applied in everything that I do because I want to be able to have my own discernment, take it to action, and then review quickly so I can go back and repeat the cycle. Now, TPR, training, practice, work. You have to train on a daily basis. What is training? Training is a one on one thing in everything that you do. Training is when you're by yourself and you're working on something and you're trying to do the best you possibly can. So I train when I read my Bible. This is one on one reading time while I'm training to become a better Christian. Because when I go work out to the gym, I'm training on my own because I'm trying to make sure I can be strong and powerful and as powerful as I can possibly be so I can protect my family. And that's one on one. So what's practice? Well, practice is when you get a chance to go be with others that are like minded, that are going through the similar training that you're doing. Practice is when you get a chance to go be with a master, a mentor, a teacher, a high level educator who's an expert in that particular area. So when you go to them, you can show off your training and then ask questions about things that you by yourself you really couldn't get a chance to come to a conclusion on. Why? Because that expert has been there, done that, and have it could come give you the answers that you just might need. So imagine if you went to go and show up with an expert and didn't do any training. What happens? Well, the expert has to start with zero with you. So now I'm spending time with you that we could have been working on to make a conclusion on what you could possibly have become. So the
Mhm.
final piece, the work. Well, the work is fun because you've already trained, you've already practiced. You are in a position where you're ready to perform. So going to work is great. Like having going to the game, going playing the game is great. I trained, I practiced, and now it's game time. I'm ready to go show off and I'm ready to go win. So in every aspect of it, training, practice, work in planning, training, practice, work in action, training, practice, work in review. I've done these things to build a system that allows you to be champion any obstacle that comes in ahead of you. But it all begins with discipline and consistency that has to start in the training alone. And because you planned around that, the action has to take place because you've already practiced and worked on that. And then the review stage so you can get better. So they go together. It's a very, very powerful piece that if you apply it, you'll have some great results.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. I think those two frameworks are great to incorporate into everyday life. I think they're super important. And so with that, I'm going to move us into the dad zone and into the back end of this podcast. But before I do, I'm going to use a couple things you just said there to read this little ad read right here. So Albert, you were just talking about training, you're talking about discipline, you're talking about structure, right? And that's everything that Pod Launch Coaching offers you. Pod Launch Coaching is a specially designed one-on-one coaching program to help you launch your podcast. Whether you're just starting out, whether you've done it before, you failed, and you want to try it again, and you're like, I don't want to fail this time. This is going to be successful 100%. I just need someone to help me guide through it. Or if you're starting from ground zero and you're like, I really had this great idea. I think it would be a great podcast. It fits this amazing, big but niche audience, and I have all the pieces and put in place here, but I really just need someone to help me structure, hold me accountable for this process. That where Pod Launch Coaching with myself comes into play. I will walk you through your first 10 episodes, depending on level that you programming that we agree on. Walk you through your first 10 episodes. Make sure you get to that point to where after that you become part of the top 10% of podcasts in the world just by getting past episode 10 and getting past that initial roughest part of ever doing a podcast. I've done over 300 plus episodes of different podcasts in my time. Sat behind this microphone a lot, even had to get a different chair before because I sat in it so much and had to refine it and get something comfier. Um, Comfy chair just means that you get to be comfier doing your podcast. So trust me, a good chair is where it's all at. But that's not the point here. If you're interested in pod launch coaching, you're ready to launch your podcast today, ready to turn your big idea into podcast. Go ahead and message me over on Instagram at Pod Launch Coaching. You can find me there. Just message me any words you could think of, anything that you want to message me there. We'll have a conversation and we'll get you on a free 30-minute call and we'll see where exactly and how exactly Pod Launch Coaching can help you today. So with that, let's jump into the dad zone. All right, thank you to our live in studio audience. You guys have been gone for a long time. Glad you're back. So into the dad zone we go, Albert. So because sometimes during these podcasts we get a little heavy. We get into the trenches of the conversation, and I like to end on a fun note because that's about being a dad. We have some heavy conversations, but we always end a little bit fun at the same time. So first question in the dad zone: who are three people, dead or alive, that you'd like to invite over for a dinner party?
Oh wow, dead or alive. Person number one, my dad. Person number two, my mom. And I would say person number three. This might not shock you too much. Could you imagine having dinner with Jesus?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I know people might say that a lot, but I would just love to have that be able to have that conversation.
What was ironic, a few episodes before this, I talked to two people who did a lot with like faith, and we had some pretty strong faith conversations. Neither one of them said Jesus when asked this question. It was really interesting.
Wow.
I was like, I was waiting for it too, and I'm like, okay, I teed that one up for you too, but whatever. Does pineapple go on pizza?
Oh gosh, no.
Good, good, good. We're gonna post this episode.
Right.
What is your guilty pleasure food? The food or snack that you're sneaking to make sure none of them little kids get to have any of it?
Guilty pleasure food at this point in my life. I'm a steak and eggs guy, so that's my guilty pleasure.
I love it. Last question here in the dad zone. What is one piece of advice that you would offer to a young dad, age 18 to 22 years old, just starting out his fatherhood journey?
I would tell that young dad that you can make it. Tell your children that you believe in them on a consistent basis, and to hug them and to kiss them on the cheek. That's tell them you believe them, hug them, and kiss them on the cheek, because they're going on to a very, very, very rough world.
Absolutely. I love that. All right, now it's time for our CTRA, something we started a little bit ago, but our CTRAs are our clear takeaway, our reflection, and our action for the week. So the takeaway I want you to have from this week's episode is true wealth isn't in your bank account. We mentioned at the top and in Albert's intro his background, CPA, but we didn't even talk about money or anything. But we did talk about
That's
things that
right.
bring you true wealth, your systems, your values, and the consistency you model for your kids. Reflection today is, what are you teaching your family through how you handle stress, time, and money, and also your faith? Are your actions matching your intentions? So actions speak louder than words. So are your actions matching your intentions? Your action for this week: try the PAR method. Plan one family goal, act by taking one concrete step, and review together at the end of the week. Consistency compounds, and that's how legacies are built. So stay consistent with it and stay in the game right there. And now into a little call to action for you guys. You can learn more about Albert and his message by picking up his book Life, Truth, Love, Loss, Success, and Failure over on Amazon. Screen should be coming up, but you can pick that up right here. This is what it looks like. You can get it for $0 on with the Kindle Unlimited plan, $14.99 on Amazon Prime in a soft cover paperback, or $21.99 on hardcover, or 99 cents via Kindle. So great deal all over the place there that you can get. Uh, and don't mind my little thing over here. I'm getting these for my niece. Should be popping up. I think it popped up.
It
It's
did.
taking a minute. There it is. Now it's on the screen. Don't mind those little chew toys in the corner over there. And those are for my niece. I need to order those. I meant to order those like days ago, but I forgot. But that's where you can go and learn more about Albert and all the things there, get connected more. And if you're looking to strengthen your family financial future, I believe you can follow Albert on social media. He's always dropping wisdom for parents, business owners, and future leaders. And you can connect more with him through his socials, which will be in the show notes. Anything else to mention, Albert?
I would just like the only thing I didn't get a chance to mention. You kind of mentioned it earlier, but I can because I will. That is the main mantra of the actual book itself. The main quote: "I can because I will." And if you put your mind to it, your willpower will make you be successful. If you say I can, you will. If you say I can't, you won't. So you're right in both cases. So I can because I will.
Absolutely. So, Albert, a huge thank you to you for joining me today and reminding us that success starts at home. It starts in how we lead, how we love, and how we steward that God's given us. If this episode encouraged you, share it with another dad or parent who's building towards something better. Make sure to rate and review the show on all platforms. Like, subscribe, follow, do all the things you can to show your love and support for the podcast. It helps more people find these conversations. And that's what we want: more people finding these conversations, more dads finding the conversation, more moms finding the conversations, more people in general finding these conversations, because they're out there. If we can share it, if we comment, if we like it, it does help it reach the one that it's supposed to reach. Maybe it's not you, but if you're liking, you're following, you're subscribing, you're leaving comments, it helps it find the right person that needs to hear it the most. So, and always make sure you clean up your trash from that juice box and snack and throw it away so the wife doesn't yell at you. Keep showing up, and we'll see you next week right here on the Young Dad Podcast.